Hey, welcome back. I'm Alex Goad, best-selling author, coach, and small business specialist, and today we're going to talk about perhaps the most important topic of all, which is how to increase or cultivate your spiritual energy. And let me tell you something. We've talked about mental energy, we've talked about physical energy, and those are the tangibles, and they're the easy ones. They're easy to grasp, easy to understand, and easy to influence. This one here is a little bit less tangible, less obvious. Some people think that we're going to get into some pretty woo-woo shit right now, and we're not. I assure you, we're going to stick to like pure science, logic, and stuff that makes intimate sense to anybody, no matter race, creed, background, doesn't matter. And what you're going to realize is that if you've ever seen people like, for example, we've all seen these people on YouTube or on documentaries that look so disadvantaged by life that you think, how do they even continue? How do they even face one day? But they're not just facing the day and surviving, they're thriving. They're striving to achieve goals that we have trouble even conceiving of. And we think that if we were in that position, we would be in big, big trouble. Well, the difference is that they are animated by a level of spiritual energy that comes from a very specific place. And that spiritual energy overcomes the weakness of the body, overcomes the weakness of the mind, and overcomes any obstacle built into the natural environment, no matter what it may be. Sound good? Let's get into it. So we're only going to cover today the top 3 factors that boost mental energy and the top 3 factors that kill mental energy. And what you're going to see is that really one is the opposite of the other. So if you want your energy and your life force to go up, then you got to do more of this. And if you want it to stop going down or also continue to go up, you got to do less of this. Pretty simple and straightforward. Okay, so let's get into it. All right. The number one most important driver of energy and the number one most important thing that either drives your life or does not drive your life is this number one right here. And here's what it is. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I've made an entire chapter and section on this in particular. So this is kind of just a appetizer, a little taste to get us started. Okay, so it's P plus CV plus M. So the P is the number one most important thing, and the P is purpose. So when someone feels a sense of purpose about who they are, about what they're doing, about the impact that they're having, the contributions that they're making, and the people that they're having an influence on, when you feel that that's in line and it makes sense to you, it makes you almost unstoppable. This here, P, purpose, is the only thing that will make you get out of bed in the morning and go do something hard and not required of you, like creating something great. The only thing that's going to drag you out of bed, purpose. You have no purpose, you can do it for a week, you can do it for a month, you can try to will yourself through it, but eventually it all crumbles and falls apart because your reference point, your purpose doesn't exist or isn't strong enough to support you through the other stuff that's hard, but that's necessary in order to get to the goal. And yes, you can definitely find your purpose. If you feel like you have a purpose, you can enhance and clarify it. And by doing those things, when you strengthen P, basically everything else in your life can kind of fall in order behind it. This is the general, this is the admiral. All right. What's CV? CV fits well with P because it's quite necessary, and CV stands for core values. So everybody is different. We're all human, we've all kind of got the same situation, we've pretty much faced the same problems, have the same opportunities, but our personalities and our natures are different. What's really exciting to one person is not exciting to another person. A value that one person might have might not speak that much to another person. So you need to know what your values are, and you need to live a life that's relatively congruent with those values. If you go away from them, then you start to feel like things are not right, like you're not in the right place, you're not doing the right thing, and all of a sudden, your energy goes down the drain. I uncovered that too soon. What's wrong with me? Finally, let's get to the M here. So the M is mission. And perhaps you don't know what your core values are, perhaps you don't know what your purpose is, perhaps you don't even think that you have a purpose. But you will have experienced a mission at some point in your life. So M stands for mission. What's a mission? It's when you feel, for a certain time, a sense of purpose in the accomplishment of a certain thing. That's a mission. So you can give yourself a mission, or other people can give you a mission. But if you look at why do people that are in the army suddenly become so attached to what they've done, to the people that they did it with, to the values that they acquire while they're there, it's because they complete missions and it means something to them. Now, I can tell you that I intimately kind of understood this at a very young age, because I was the kind of person that could not do their homework. I didn't do my homework. I just couldn't find the reason why to do it. It didn't make sense to me. But if a classmate asked me to help them with their homework, or even to do their homework, I would go home and I'd be like, yes, I get to do something of significance. But it was short-lived, obviously. It was just a tiny little thing. But if you use your core values and you give yourself missions that align with your purpose constantly, then sky's the limit. You can accomplish absolutely anything. And you won't have to push yourself through it. The combination of this will pull you through it. It'll be easier than you ever imagined possible. And if you don't have this, then it doesn't matter. I don't care if you talk to the top experts in the world, if you spend huge amounts of money in trying to get yourself aligned, trying to get yourself to perform, it's all going to be extraordinarily difficult, and the results are always going to be subpar. Because what you find on the other end of the spectrum is aimlessness. And aimlessness is a killer. They say that the idle hands do the devil's work. Well, idle minds do I don't know what, but it doesn't turn out very well. And it doesn't give you a lot of energy. And if you do have energy, it goes into the wrong place. So you're much better off on this side than on that side. All right, let's move on to point number 2. So point number 2 is P, Mindscape. So that stands for a positive mindscape. And obviously, I'm going to reveal to you the opposite of a positive mindscape, which is a negative mindscape. So look at your mindscape almost like a landscape, like a garden. And what you cultivate, what you allow to exist in there, including just how long you dwell with negative thoughts or with positive thoughts, or how you interpret situations or things that happen to you, the more it tends towards the positive, the more you can kind of turn yourself on and use that positive energy and momentum to do good things in your life. And the less you have of it, or the more time you spend in negative emotions, stress, the harder it is for you to really align yourself with that which truly matters to you, attack it with energy, get things done, create some momentum. Okay, so what are the things that create a positive mindscape? Well, one of them, and this is going to seem really obvious and silly, but it's happiness. And I'm not talking about happiness in a really intangible manner and, like, oh, sit there and will yourself to be happy, because that's not going to work. But if you want to be more happy, it's actually proven that you can become more happy, because happiness is created by a series of circumstances, experiences, beliefs, and basically by the things that you do and the way that you interpret them. So there's an excellent book on the subject called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Achor, and it's really good stuff, and it'll talk about the 6 keys to increasing your happiness. But bottom line, if you don't feel at least moderately happy, really hard to get anything done. So work on it. And yeah, you can work on it, like I just said. All right, next thing, intentional relaxation and centering of yourself. Every single high performer that I have ever met or read about either has prayer, meditation, or something in their life whereby they stop the noise from the outside world, they kind of create a bubble around themselves, and they relax. They relax their body and they relax their minds. And this serves a couple of purposes. First of all, it protects you against stress, but second of all, it also reduces your level of impulsiveness. And impulsiveness is the thing that makes you do things that you don't really care about or that don't really matter in the space of your life. And so the less impulsiveness you are, the more likely you are to respond properly to a situation, to be kind and loving to your spouse, to your friends, to your family, to your coworkers, even when you don't feel like it, or even when the situation might warrant a more aggressive reaction. Impulsiveness is the thing that makes us tip easily into what we don't want and not be able to get what we do want. All right. Next, here's an infantile term for you. It's winning versus losing. But a lot of us set our lives up so that there's too much losing going on. What does it mean? Well, it means if you set all of these goals and objectives and you make all of these plans, but you don't accomplish any of it, your subconscious or part of you is actually registering that and is going like, dude, what is this? What's going on here? Okay, so you don't want to do that. It's important to try to create some momentum by having small wins that actually do matter a great deal. So that's why it's important to curate your environment, to curate your activities so that you have a sense of success a good part of the time in what you're doing. And then you can build on that success and go for a higher level of success. All right, next point. Exercising a signature strength. So we're all good at doing certain things, and I think it'll be no secret when I tell you that when you do things that you're good at, it makes you feel good. So for example, one of the things that I'm good at is writing copy or doing marketing. Sometimes I do it just for fun. Sometimes I volunteer to help people, even though I charge very high rates and I get paid very well for it. Sometimes I just do it for free for people to help them out because it makes them happy, and that's another success booster. But it makes me happy. It makes me feel good because all of a sudden, it doesn't matter what's going on around me. I feel like, oh, when I do this, I'm competent, I'm good, I'm creating value. All of a sudden, my energy comes up and I feel good about myself. Next point. Learning something or challenging yourself. Okay, so learning seems to be built into our very human nature. When you learn something new, you feel good, it increases your energy, it increases your happiness, it does a lot of good things for you. So sometimes when you're feeling down, you feel like you need a little boost, learn something in a field that matters to you, and you'll see you'll feel good right away. Finally, in terms of a positive mindscape versus a negative mindscape is increasing the sense of ownership over your life. So maybe you've seen a diagram before. It looks like a circle. So there's a big circle and there's a little circle. And the little circle inside is your circle of control. And the big circle on the outside is your circle of basically not control. So a lot of people spend their time on the outer circle complaining about things that are happening in the world, things that are happening to them, the weather, the level of wages, the economy, who's in power in such and such place. The reality of it, though, is that you have very, very little control over any of that. The only thing that you do have control over is in the virtual circle that I'm drawing over this diagram is in the middle is the things. So when you focus on what you can control, like, do you exercise? Where did you go on vacation? Where do you want to live? Can you move? Can you do it? So when you focus on the things that are within your control, you have a sense of control over your life. And when you focus on the outside, you have a sense of non-control, a sense of dispossession, a sense of having things imposed on you. And that makes you unhappy and it drains your energy. All right. Finally, let's get to point number 3. So here we have C plus positive interaction. So the C here stands for connection. So connection is, as human beings, we are heavily social animals. And I can tell you that I've done the test. I've tried to isolate myself and I've tried to interact with people as little as possible so that I could just focus on my stuff and do my own thing and focus on me. And for a time it did work. And then in short order, it started falling apart. And it fell apart in ways that I couldn't even describe. Suddenly I wasn't myself anymore. Suddenly I wasn't able to generate energy and enthusiasm. Suddenly I felt like I didn't care so much. And all of that happened because I wasn't connecting with people anymore. So connecting with people is absolutely crucial. And the same thing, having positive interactions. It's very easy to underestimate the importance of daily positive interactions. And actually, research has shown that there's a real number here. So the number is 5 positive interactions on a daily basis is the minimum. If you don't get that, or if you have too many negative interactions in proportion to the positive interactions, all of a sudden you don't feel good, you don't feel connected, you feel alienated from people, which makes you feel alienated from the world, alienated from purpose, alienated from core values, and all of a sudden things come to a screeching halt. So, Connection and positive interactions are key. And obviously the opposite is isolation and negative interactions. So if you're too isolated, and sometimes this happens to us for no good reason other than it happened. It slipped into your life. It's not your fault. I'm not here to blame you or anything like that, but you have to increase your interaction. You have to increase especially the positive interaction, and there's several different ways that we can do this. And at the same time, you got to minimize and you got to run away from negative interactions. If you have some highly negative people in your life, or if you're constantly getting into these situations that are negative that make you feel bad, find a way to get out of it. You don't have to live those moments. You always have more control than you think that you do. And when you exercise that control, you'll feel good for all sorts of different reasons. All right, so here's some very simple guidelines for how to negotiate this and make yourself feel good on the connectivity and interaction front. Okay, so I already said it, 5 positive interactions per day minimum. Another great method that works tremendously well, and I already mentioned it, help somebody. If you help somebody by exercising one of your signature strengths, it'll go a long way. The next item is making people happy, making people smile. It doesn't even need to be people that you know, and you don't need to do big things for them. Sometimes it's just bringing a little croissant to one of your coworkers. Sometimes it's even making a person on the metro, on the street, a passerby, smile, making a positive comment about what they're wearing. It doesn't matter. If you make someone else feel good, all of a sudden you feel good, because we're deeply social creatures. Moving on. Connecting with loved ones and peers. This is absolutely key, and this used to be a given. This is the number one thing that's changed pretty much in the last 30 or 40 years, at least in America, is that we used to have all of these institutions and social groups, including education, including church, including your neighborhood, including community at large. And all of those things used to provide this larger network of people with shared values that you could connect with, interact with, and grow with, make friends with, and just kind of have a feeling of like, maybe the whole world is a little messed up, but at least we got our little group here that think the same thing, that move in the same direction, and we can count on each other, and that means a lot. So again, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but if you seek it out and you find it, and all of a sudden you find yourself among a group of peers, of people who you can respect, who you can like, and whose ideals you like, and who share the same kind of core values, the same direction of purpose, the same types of missions, that's going to give you tremendous energy. All right, so that concludes this little video right here. Again, this is a scale, so you don't have to do all of the things, and you don't have to stop doing all of the bad things at the same time. But if you just move each one of these a little bit in the right direction, all of a sudden you might find yourself one day waking up, getting out and wanting to get out of bed, and feeling a sense of being magnetically drawn towards the things that you've always said that you wanted, but all of a sudden now you don't have to drag yourself through it anymore. It exercises this kind of magical pull. It creates this excitement and enthusiasm inside of you. And I truly believe that that's how we should be living 99% of the time. So, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. I want to remind you that if you enter your name and or email in the box below, I'm going to send you some more good stuff, and I invite you to do that and to share this with somebody that you think might benefit from it. And finally, I want to remind you that today counts, so behave yourself accordingly. Have a good one.